Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, Sunday evening. I am Suma Ganesh from Team B Forest, and I have with us Dr. Noorunnisa Begum. I'll give you a very quick brief about Dr. Noorie's background, and then I will request her to take it from there. Dr. Noorunnisa Begum, or we lovingly call her Dr. Noorie, comes with over 2 decades of experience in the botanical academic field. She is an associate professor for a university called TDU, which is a leading university here based out of Bangalore. She has done some extensive work across the country. She has worked with the governments, the central government of India. She has worked with state governments of various states in India, like West Bengal, Goa, Andhra Pradesh, etc. She has also worked with international agencies and governments, for example, United Nations Development Program. And it is needless to say, if there is a plant in the country, Dr. Noorie probably knows about it. So the idea that so Dr. Noorie and her team actually consult us at Bee Forest. We have started with Kumale. She and her team have done an extensive study of the the green assets that we have in Kumale, and she will share some of the findings with us today. We will have a session of about 30 minutes where Dr. Noorie will take us through her findings and a lot of insightful conversation about native plants this evening. I would request you to put in your questions in the chat, and we will cover them after this presentation is over in the last 30 minutes. Dr. Noorie, you can take it from here.
Thank you, Suma. Good evening to everyone and namaskar. So today we are going to have a look at the work that we have done at Kumale Estate. We are very happy to be a part of Bee Forest and a team, and then have a look, because being working with the plants, we had an opportunity to look at the diversity that was there in this beautiful estate. So now the question is, why did we really curiously take up this kind of assignment? We were very keen to understand. We have been working on the forest. We've been traveling across the different biogeographical zones of the country, and then never worked in the estate. So I wanted to, I have a team of Dr. Dakshinamurthy, Mr. Patturaj, and myself. We form a team from TDU University, and we were very curious to understand the plants that occur in the diversified habitat of the Kumale estate, and then make a checklist of those species. For example, you have a kind of a house. In the house, you have so many valuable things. You categorize yourself and you take more care when you come to know, okay, X, Y, Z is the most valuable things that I have in my house. Similarly, estate, we were very curious to know what are the species diversity that are there, how many are medicinal, and how many are exotic. Exotic are those species which are not native to our country. So they are something who are very sturdy, they are very competitive, they can have good nutrition, grow more flourishly compared to native plants. So they are not very good for our native plant species. So that's one of the things for us to know, because they become a threat on long term. And so with all this kind of objective, we found that Kumale already has a concentration on pepper, and it has more than 7 varieties of coffee. It was such a passionate and happy finding for us that it has more than 385 medicinal plant species, and they do have diversified habits. So you have about 100 plus tree species there. Along with them, you have several herbs, and some of those plants which need support, they are called as climbers, and the small dhruva kind of a thing, which we call grasses, and epiphytes, which are always growing on a particular support system, that is on the trees. For example, it can be any orchid. So we were very excited to see that, okay, you have so many species. How is this that this one estate, the place is only one, but so much of diversity is there? The curiosity is because Like our country has Rajasthan, which has desert in one area. So you have dry plants in that area. So you have in Himalayan region. So in Himalayan region, you have very distinct kind of a pine forest. You have coastal forest. You have mangrove plants there. Similarly, Malay had a diversified habitat because of which we were able to have different type of species. We had plantation at one end, we had evergreen forest patch at one end, we had moist deciduous patch at one end, and the most beautiful is the aquatic, which always gives us place where we can have a lot of birds, aquatic plants, and a beautiful sight also, which is more soul soothing. And you have Shola. Shola is a fantastic juncture. You have a huge patch of grassland, and then suddenly you see a dense trees there, and then a riparian with the stream, where you will see species like canarian, that is Dhupadamara. So Dhupadamara, a lot of such species are there. And then you have a degraded forest. Now, why am I telling degraded forest? Because there's a lot of scope to play with that. Now we find that, okay, the Kumale estate is having such rich kind of a diversified habitat, and therefore it has so much of plant diversity. And we were very thrilled to see kind of species that it was harboring, that we can do a lot of experiment in the degraded forest also. Now, this is just a picture of few of the plants of the habitat that we have seen there. So you can see the riparian vegetation, you can see the coffee estate, coffee plantation, you can see the degraded area, you can see the shola, typical, and then you do have a close-up of the semi-evergreen forest. And we will see we don't have thing which is like a rudraksha. Rudraksha is one particular species. So you have a cousin of that, another is so that particular plant is growing, and we find several beautiful orchids. And this is my team who is there in the bee forest project, Dakshinamurthy and Patu, and they have been with more than a decade experience. So regularly we visit to see in different seasons, is there any phenological changes? Is there any kind of different species that we have missed out in the last season? And so this rigorous visit in different seasons has resulted in our interesting findings. So what is the finding? Endemic plants. Now, what is the endemic plants? Those plants which are resistant to okay.
100 से 45 is half. We have used that in one day. मतलब आपका 1.5 दिन चल.
Sorry. Hello.
Could I request everyone to mute themselves, please?
Yeah. We found those 25 species are those which are there in bee forest, which is there only in our India or southern India or western Ghats. These are those kind of a special things. So in the whole world, they are found only in the restricted area. And Kumale is such a virgin kind of a place where you're harboring such endemic species. Now, highly threatened species. Now, what do you mean traded species? Now, from University, what we did for 2 decades, we've been studying what are those medicinal plant species that have been traded. This was a project given by the government of India to us. We have found today that you have about 1100 medicinal plant species that have been actively traded. Now, what do you mean by traded? Only for therapeutic uses. It is not for anything else, not for masala or spice or condiments, anything like that. So, out of this highly traded, that means more than 100 metric tons of this medicinal plant species are traded in the country. They have been used by the herbal industries across the country. Such valuable species are also found in Kumale estate. So it shows that you do have a high potential. If you're going to systematically work out, you do have a commercial species available in the Kumale estate. Then you do have a threatened plants. Now that means also contribute for the conservation of this threatened plant species. Now, what is this threatened plant species? It is something we human beings, we have small stomach pain or little more 10 days diarrhea or loose motion. We'll get admitted into the hospital. or we get into the ICU. So for plants also, when 80% of the population is gone, then they become critically endangered. Okay? When 50% population is gone, it becomes endangered. Of less than 30% is vulnerable. That you are protecting 15 such valuable medicine plants, threatened species in Kumale estate. And then it is also that we are giving base for exotic species. About 20 species are there. Now, these are few of the common species that are there. Don't have to worry with the botanical names. Absolutely not interested that you get into this thing. To look at the species that we are seeing. So you can see on the right hand side a kind of a brinjal kind of a plant, but this is a wild. It is called as Solanum picoides, or you have another Solanum, which is another brinjal family sister. So that is another species. So you have so many wild. You are just giving them several wild species, and it is very, very rare today to find such virgin lands. Okay, so when we are talking about the Kumale estate, now my question is that what is so special about it, and what is it that we are seeing outside the Kumale estate? Now we are looking outside Kumale estate, very luxuriant and beautiful trees. When you go on a long drive on highway, you can see the lovely colors of pink and yellow, and especially from your childhood, I'm sure many of us here from a childhood, you would have taken the green color and made the nails polished. So that is Gulmohar. But these are planting. But do we really know that are they from India? Are they from really our place? Okay, so in planting of all these things. So for example, we all like pizza, we all like burgers, but on a daily basis, having the same thing really becomes monotonous. Which is more healthy is your native diet. You have seasonal fruit, you have seasonal diet, and region-specific diet. Similarly, nature also, you should have the plants which is nature specific. For example, if you have only plants which are succulent, which are xerophytic, that means which are thorny, which have small, small leaves, so that the transpiration is reduced. So such kind of plants, and if you're coming to Western Ghats, you have different kind of plants. You have your cinnamon, or you have your cloves, or you have foot colombo, that is Garcinia. Okay, so these kinds of species you're going to see more. That is the beauty of our thing. But when we are coming to planting, we are looking at the beauty and not to our native plants. Now, what happens with native plants is our butterflies, our moths, our ants, our so many pollinators are used to the native plants, and we are taking away the host of that particular species, and we are destroying that city. Now we see the season where all of us take beautiful photos, lines from streets, and say lovely streets. And again, here you have the species which is not of Indian nativity, and find that we are harboring so many of the exotic species. This is another species we are seeing as queen crepe myrtle. Now here, I don't know how, but people have found the medicinal use also. They used it for dialysis. They're using it for several other purposes. And again, this is not a very Indian, but then it at least is towards the Southern Asian region. So it is much, much better than the earlier plants. No, I'm sure most of us, when you're walking on the road, you will see those beautiful pink flowers, which are like the blush. So now, again, not native to India. This is more native to Southern America. So we are now trying to look at those. Eucalyptus is a deadly plant because it has a kind of a allelopathic effect. Now, what is the allelopathic effect? Near the ground, in and around the surrounding of that particular plant, what you see, no other plant can grow. So it will give that kind of chemicals which is very, very harmful, and no ground plants will be there, no ground flora will be there. So this is again we are growing. Now, estates, we have lovely hotels line up with silver oak trees. Now, again, not a native plant. You cannot see a lot of plants. If you see during a child age time, we were having a lot of sparrows. We had lots of sunbirds. We had bulbuls. Okay, but they were all why we had houses which lot of places which was open. We had trees which were very native. We didn't have this flyover in the Hebal. We did that lake that was there on the either side gave a rich diversity of the aquatic plants. And the whole, when you was to travel in the Hebal flyover, there used to be a beautiful dense trees which was given by the native plants. And then you had such a lush coverage of the shade. Today, because of the development, because of the deforestation, because of urbanization, we are now eating away these native plants. And Kumale is the virgin place where we are at least able to save this kind of species. Now, when I'm talking so much about the exotic species, we have to, I just wanted you to appreciate why I'm talking about the exotic species. Now, 3,000 years back, our culture is so strong that every name of the plant, okay, every use of the plant was very well thought. Now, if you see today, you'll see this particular plant, which is called as camel foot tree, okay, Bohemia. And this particular camel foot tree is the two lobes, which is there half cut in the top. Now, if you see, the leaf shape looks like a thyroid. Therefore, this was called as Kanchanakara. And 3,000 years before, in Ayurveda, it was said that this particular species is used for treating the thyroid issues because the shape is like the thyroid. So much was the native plants and their linkage to the usage, to the look, to the taste, to the occurrence. And on the right hand side, you can see garlic. Now look at the shape of one of the bulb of the garlic. It looks like a stomach. So it is used for healing, for helping the digestive issues. Okay. Now you would have seen many of the houses still are using Hastikala. That means this is a particular succulent plant where you are trying to take the tender part, remove the outer portion, grind it and use it in your batter or any kind of chutney. Now, if you see this plant, it is having joints. Now, the joint is like the finger or the bones where you are joining. So, those kind of a joints that we are seeing, we have this kind of a plant. So, what the sages 3,000 years have done, they have grown this particular plant for the bone strengthening. So if you have bone fracture, if you have bone weakness, so you are bound to use this kind of a thing. And today also there are many houses, this culture is very strong, especially in Tamil Nadu and in few places of Andhra. Now you have Manduka Parni, or it is also called as Brahmi. So now why the name Manduka Parni? Manduka is like the ear of the frog. Okay, now look at the shape of the leaf. It is used for the memory enhancer. All right, so because the shape of the leaf is looking like a brain, these are the native plants where the usage is directly linked to us. It gives back to us. It is giving you maximum kind of a return as far as it's for pollination purposes or utility purposes or aesthetic purposes. It is giving you higher things. Then you do have another thing called as people carpet, or which is called as aswatha. So now in aswatha, if you see the inverted leaf is looking at the female gynec organ. So this is used for treating female reproductive organ. So imagine if we are trying to grow this kind of native trees, okay, Ficus religiosa, or I said about Cissus quadrangularis on your fences, or where you have small lawn kind of a thing, you can just have a carpet of Centella asiatica. And then you do have Bombax malabarica, that is Salmali. Now, I have a story here to tell. One of my colleagues, when he went to Chitradurga, he found that in the campus, lot of trees were not having the thorns. Then he found that, what is the thing? He found the college girls or the hostel girls, they were pulling out the thorns, and that exudate that was coming, they were rubbing on their pimples or acne. So at that time, it was said that because it has a spiny kind of occurrence, it can take care of the spiny eruptions on the skin. Okay. So now these are the species that you definitely see in Kumale, and you are able to use it directly for your health purposes. And imagine you have Amla Murabba. So you have Shatavari Murabba in Kumale Estate. You do see Asparagus racemosus, and the lovely tuberous roots which give you aroma is also good for the women gynec care and as well as energizer. And you can have those tubers which are washed and then soaked in the sugar syrup, and you can have it as a murabba, which is very, very good for the summer time. Now you do have Triphala. So you have Terminalia, Chapula, Behera. So these kind of species are also there in Kumale, where the fruits are used for the immunity building purposes. Now this is Amla, and this is Ashwagandha. Why the name Ashwagandha? Because it has a smell of horse urine. So that's a kind of a thing. And today the whole world is going behind this ashwagandha. In fact, in China, people go behind Panax, ginseng. So in India, this is Indian Panax ginseng. So it is Indian ginseng. So all you have to do is you have the roots which are used, and there are a lot of tea bags which are there in the market, a lot of capsules which are there in the market, and you are blessed to have an estate which has such a lovely kind of a thing. Now, if you, especially COVID time, okay, it's an immunity requirement. There's nothing else that helps you. If you're going to go for any antibiotic, it's going to take the same time. What do? We do the immunity boosting. This kalme is very, very important as an immunity booster. You can take the whole plant and then just make a kashayam and then have the particular species as a decoction, and you can get a very good immunity on a long run. And even if you have a fever, it is going to be taken care. This is a beautiful nightgum which is going to be seen in the estate. And then, yes, you do have Tulsi, which I don't have to say. It has a very, very important role in bronchial care. So with the COVID, I think we all should have a habit of utilizing these common plants early morning instead of having the high costly tea. Just take few drops of Tulsi leaves or citrus, lemon grass, and then just boil them and have those aromatic and medicinal leaves. Now, this is another Garcinia where the fruits are used in place of tamarind. Now, tamarind is little acidic and it can cause some kind of issue when people are having intestinal problem or sensitive stomach. So that time, this kind of a pulikolombo is very, very useful. Now, Ashoka tree. This is something which, what are the kind of trees that we can actually grow if you find in the degraded forest or in the kind of, I have been telling you about the exotic trees. Are there any other plants that we can think of going into this kind of place? One of the species I could think of is Ashoka. The name Ashoka means a shoka, the one which removes the sorrow of a woman. It is useful in the gynec related issues. And this particular plant is very important. And why do you really need to know about the name? Okay. Now, if you see, there are a lot of people who will say the wrong name. Saraka indica or Saraka ashoka. So in India, we have only Saraka ashoka. You should also know the identity. So when you are trying to grow, you have another plant. This ashoka tree is a huge tree, okay, or mid-sized tree, but you have another small shrub which is Ixora, okay, where you can see in ashoka flower, you can see those pink kind of stamens which are coming out, but in Ixora, it is not coming out. So this is the kind of a thing. And Ashoka is used in more than 400 metric ton by the herbal industries. It is such a valuable tree. It is a threatened plant in the state of Karnataka, and it is largely growing towards the water side area. And Kumale has a fantastic kind of a habitat, and we can grow this across the avenue trees. Imagine the avenue trees with such beautiful bunch of orange fruits, orange flowers. Okay, and the fruits are like your beans because it belongs to the beans family. Now, if you have this kind of flowers, you have so many butterflies, so many pollinators that come back, and you're literally going to change the diversity of the insects and birds in your area. And because this is highly traded, and because it is threatened, and because it is not having a common population, what people are doing, they are adulterating. Adulterating, Andre, mixing this particular species with other plants. Okay, so in the market, when you buy Ashoka, you have Storia robusta, or you have so many other species that are used, which is harmful. Okay, so it is very important that we grow this particular species in our own place. Now, this is something which is very common. I'm sure in Shivaratri, we have this kind of we have usage of the Bilva Sharbat. So, what is so big? We are seeing it near the temple, we are seeing all the fruits. But why do you have to grow this native tree? Because when you are talking of the trees, we are not saying cultivated plants. We are saying in the forest how much it is there. All right. How much the own forest is having its species, not the ones which we are growing near the temple or anything. In the forest, within the country, the population is very less. So we should take an attempt to grow this particular species also. This is going to be very, very important species where it can take care of the economic need also. And also the other criteria can be met. All right. So Bilva is one of the important tree species. Now look at this. It's like a tennis ball. So this particular lofty tree species, it looks so beautiful. It has a lush green leaves. And imagine your avenue trees, instead of those exotic ones, you have kadamba on your road. This is mythologically important. You know, this is linked to the many mythological stories. And this is again one of the very nice tree for us to have as a avenue place. So this is another species we can think. I'm now giving, there are several native plants that can be grown. And these are just few that I'm taking because of the short of time. Now, apart from this kind of species that I have spoken, I also want that we should promote growing the fruits trees. I remember especially when my father was in Air Force, and I used to go to KV Hebal and KV IAC. So whenever I used to go, all the lanes, they used to have all the edible fruit trees. And we used to see a lot of squirrels and a lot of other birds that used to go around. And it's good for us also, isn't it? It's interesting to have some fruits. And so these are a few of the species that we should have. And today, obviously, there was one time where guava nobody used to eat. Oh, it was only one of the wild kind of a requirement. But today, because we know it's good for diabetes, we also use it for our high-end nutritive purposes. And the cost has grown high. It's almost about 80 rupees to 100 rupees a kilo. So then you have jamun, which is very, very important. The seeds are powdered and used in diabetes. So imagine you are able to get back this kind of diversity. Your tamarind, earlier I used to see Bangalore, especially the roadside, we had so many tamarind trees, but that is not there. And again, my school days, I used to see several houses where I used to go and request auntie to give me that 9 nallikai. So you have better than nallikai. So amla is another one. Then you have karvanda. So these are the things which I think we should get back into our place, and then have that. It's just not the shade. It's just not the pollinators. It's a kind of a mixture where you're trying to get those fruit-giving plants, which are giving shade giving to us, which are increasing the pollination, which can help in easy degradation. So those kind of species we should be able to get back to our nature. So with this small thing, I come to an end here. And hopefully next session, we will be coming out with the medicinal plant species which are common and how to use them to treat our common ailments. So with this, I thank and I close my presentation, and I would be open to have an interaction.
Thank you so much, Dr. Noorie. That was a very informative session. I see a few questions. While I pull those up, I welcome our participants to ask any questions directly, and I will bring up the questions as we are going on.
Good evening, ma'am. It's Sohail this side.
Yes, Suhail.
Ma'am, thank you for the excellent talk. It was very informative, and the work you have done with surveying and all that is commendable. I just have one question, which is, I put it on the chat also, but the question is, if I want to figure out which species are threatened and endemic, what resources would you recommend?
Okay. Now that's a very, very important question, Suhail, because every person who is dealing with nature and a particular jurisdiction has to know what are the plants that are threatened. There is a very stringent procedure to declare the set of species threatened in a state. So for Karnataka, our university has done such exercise, and about 88 species have been declared threatened. And this list of species can be found on our website as well as in Karnataka Medicine Plant Board website. So you can write to me personally. I can share you the list of the threatened and endemic website. And Botanical Survey of India or Government of India, they come out with a red list book. Okay, so red list book is a compilation where you have the plants of the whole country based on almost about 80 years of rigorous fieldwork of different botanists. The compilation is done. So you will see the threatened plants of Andaman, threatened plants of Karnataka, threatened plants of Assam. So you can look at the red data book published by Botanical Survey of India. You can look at the endemic medicine plants of India by Dr. Ahmadullah. You can look at FILHT database, which is there at TDU website, or you can also write to me personally. The requirement, and I could email you.
Sure, ma'am. That sounds very exciting. I will write to you to get all the details on the resources. You picked up a very good point about bale fruit, the belva.
Yes.
We try and tell people here in Delhi that it's threatened, but people always have this comeback that, oh, this has been growing horticulture variety and, it's growing lots of places.
Yes.
So that was quite a good clarification you gave, that it's threatened in the forest, and no matter how much you grow outside, it has to be grown in the forest.
Yes, yes. You have to. Bilwa is one of the very, very important thing, because we always neglect when we see it in the population, in the market. Acha, ye to milta hai.
Yes.
So that is not the thing. It is what is the population in the forest is what you have to see. Across India, which are the states it's found. Even in Karnataka, there are very few sacred groves, very few places where Bilwa is found. And that is the situation across the country. So this, I think, we should, if anybody is taking for the plantation, based on the geographical requirement, again, I think plantation or growing native plants, we have to use our heads. You can't grow in the dry region, semi-evergreen plants, or in semi-evergreen region. So planting also needs a technical kind of input. then only you please take on whatever exercise we have to do. I'm so happy, Sohail, that you are concerned about the bilwa, and that's really interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have Dr. Noorie Nalini asking, how can we know more about such traditional folk medicine? I think one of the things I'd like to add is all the resources that Dr. Noorie has mentioned, we will share with you on the groups. And we will also find a way to streamline all your inquiries and send it directly to Dr. Noorie, and then you can take it from there. I also wanted to share, we have a member called Smita, who runs, Dr. Noorie, this might be of interest to you, right here in Bangalore. Smita can take a few moments to just talk about your work, but basically they have about nearly 1,000 medicinal plants growing in an apartment complex in Bangalore.
Wow.
Smita, if you'd like, you can just take a moment to talk about your work, and then I'll share the details on the groups with everyone.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share. Actually, it so happened that I'm an urban infrastructure planner by profession. So what has happened is, where I was seeing a lot of the trees being cut, and also when I got the opportunity, somebody approached me, how do we landscape our space in the apartment? So I just thought, instead of introducing something which is exotic, why not think of something useful? And that's when I mooted the idea to some of the interested residents there, and from there on, we went to FLRTS, got that saplings, and some 886 plants are happily growing. So some video we have done it, but I think 50th year anniversary we want to do it in a big way. This is just for sharing with residents. So we also got the funding from the people over there, and it was some 4 or 5 months of effort, and now we didn't lose, I think, except for 5-10 saplings, everything else has come up very good there. We used SPNF, all natural manure and all. SPNF is Subhash Palekar natural farming method, so wherein the cow dung becomes important, that too, native trees. So we followed all the natural systems and natural procedures, native Indian knowledge, to grow Indian species. So I would say that they are in a protected land, with all security and all. So few red listed and endangered are also thriving there. So I would like you all to visit us, and then we can replicate wherever possible also.
Okay.
Dr. Noorie, maybe we can make a visit together. We are all in Bangalore.
Yes, please come.
I will connect with you, Smita, and I will take this forward.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. Meanwhile, Dr. Noorie, we have a few questions. Someone by the name Nehmat is asking us, what is the fruit quince? Quince. Quince?
No, that's from here.
Sorry?
Lagestromia?
I suppose, yeah. Could you just give us a brief about it? He's asked us specifically this particular fruit.
Again, a kind of a fruit which today people are saying that it is going to build up the immunity and it is going to take care of the stomach health and all. So these are all today's upcoming kind of jargon.
Okay, it's not a native plant. Are you saying that?
Yeah.
I see. Okay. So basically, if it's not native, let's not go that way, but basically, if we would recommend plants that are native to be used as far as possible.
Yes.
That's where we are at. Okay. Dr. Noorie, another question. We are being asked where to get saplings or seeds for all these native plants that you recommend. What is a good place to go hunting for these saplings or seeds?
Basically, if you are in any of the GKVK, Agriculture University, whether it is Delhi or Tamil Nadu or any place, the Agriculture University and the Forest Department is the place where you will definitely find the native trees. Okay, so this is one place. Now coming to the people who are in Bangalore and in Karnataka, so you have GKVK, which is very, very good. Okay, so you do have lot of medicinal plants which have been sold there. You have more than 650 species which have been grown in the nursery of FLST, Ethnomedicine Plant Garden. So you can always purchase it from FRLHT. And even at the Lal Bagh Botanical Garden, you have off late. Earlier, I would find that a lot of fancy plants were there, but today you have a lot of native plants which are now growing. So you do have several places where you can find in Bangalore for the medicine plants. And FRLHT is for sure, if you are coming, every plant that you buy is native and it is medicine plant species.
Right.
You can write. You
Hi.
can. I can connect you to the garden. Dr. Ganesh Babu and Dr. Ms. Revti is there, so we can see if the stock is available and then revert back.
Hi, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. Ma'am, Dr. Ma'am, is there any like sort of coordination is happening with all the states medicinal plants, this kind of work, research work, like finding out all this database, everything. Is there anything happening throughout the state commonly or across the state, or it is only happening in individual states?
That is very interesting question. FRLHT Envis website has given the list of all the nurseries where you can see across the states what are there. So today we do have, especially horticulture department is highly networked. Okay. When it comes to medicine plants, you do have ADMA, which is highly networked. So for medicinal plant species, you can come to know where you are doing. NMPB, National Medicine Plant Board, Government of India is trying to network every state, okay, through their respective state biodiversity board. They are having a directory of who is growing what, which acre, which area, what is the yield. So everything is being very, very systematically documented in every state. And NMPB is keeping a stock of.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Noorie, this is a question from my end in addition to what you were just saying. So there is a directory of medicinal plants that you say, and there might in fact be a directory of native plants. Now, as a lay person, how do I take this a step forward? How do I look at the directory, understand what suits my region, find the seeds you mentioned, but how do I take this a step forward? How do I understand what suits my region?
When you're talking to NMPB and State Medicine Plant Board, they will be 100% native.
Yes, but native, we also have South India, we have Northeast India, we have Northern Himalayas, we have Central India.
Yeah, so at that time, it's little difficult for a novice to understand immediately which is native and which is exotic. So you have to actually connect to Botanist or rely on a very good literature, because you cannot rely things for Google for any such thing. So you will have to contact the right people and then only get the nativity. Nativity is a serious thing because you need to have a brief understanding on the geographical distribution and how many long years it was there. For example, today you see lantana, which is almost there in our place, or you have Congress plant. Okay, so that is exotic species, but it has come and it is extensively settled down. So we have to have a kind of understanding of the species distribution when it came into the country. So it's a kind of a little technical, and one needs to approach the right person to decide. But if you're going through NMPB, you are rest assured that it is always native plants. If you're going to State Medicine Plant Board, it is always native medicine plants.
Okay, so to put it very simply, we go through this directory and then we contact an academic individual from this industry, a botanist, and request their help to understand what belongs to our region, and then try to procure the native plants, saplings or seeds, and then plant it. Okay. Anyone else would like to ask in a question? Is there, do we have anyone who's run their own individual farms perhaps, or faced, had a non-native plant in their property and are looking to switch to a native plant, or anybody who's got a farming background who would like to share some of their experiences with us while we have Dr. Noorie with us?
There's one question, many people, even botany scholars, surprisingly support plantation of exotic species. Please explain why should we be adamant to plantation of native species? I think there is nothing called as adamancy. It is only the kind of which is going to be better for the nature. You are always welcome to grow what you like. There is absolutely no rule, regulations, or laws that inhibits you from growing ornamental things. It is like if you're eating ghar ka khana every day, or you want to eat pizza every day, which is going to be good. So you have to take a call on the long run, which is going to be nice. So mere liye ghar ka khana better hai. So I will have a healthy long life. And exotic species are like those pizzas, which are attractive, which is very easy, nice with the friends. You can enjoy it for a short time. But on all long run, it is going to take a huge toll. You'll have to pay a lot of money in ICU to get rid of the effect it makes. Similarly, is the plants that affect exotic ones. They are not giving us the beautiful place that our birds need. Early morning, I remember when I was a child, early morning when I used to get up, those beautiful sounds of the birds chirping, those small sunbirds which used to be there, those beauty species, palash ke ped hote the. And today you have spathorias, today you have lagistromias, today you have all these kind of a thing where you do have different kind of birds, but the diversity reduces. So I am not saying exotic plants are bad. All I'm saying is the diversity is better when you have native plants. So that's the answer for my question.
We've actually got Smita mentioning a message also. Is it also true that exotic plants and ornamental plants require a lot much more maintenance, water, resources, etc., than the native plants would, Dr. Noorie?
Absolutely, absolutely. They require a little thing. It is something like you have a road में side में जो काम करते हैं उनके बच्चे, they are very healthy. Okay. And they have highly pampered. Oh, don't go out. You know, you'll get cold. Oh, don't eat this. You have to have highest hygiene, so distillery water and all the things. So exotic species and all these are those kind of a very delicate kind of a stuff, and they need a lot of care. But on a long run, they have got acclimatized. So it's like 50 years, 60 years. They have been brought inside, maybe through some trade, maybe through some, some kind of means they've come into the country, but they also settle down. It's something like in Bangalore, earlier only Kannadikas were there. Now it's full of other communities and other people of different parts of the country. So these plants also get, now they become from exotic, they come to naturalized. Okay, so they get almost settled and they're able to take. So they do require a lot of care, but on long run, they're able to survive on their own.
All right, that's the. I mean, it's a good way to understand this. We have someone mentioning GMTT. Ishtiaq, is that a question you'd like to ask? I'm not sure if that was a question or it was an information, but he's basically mentioned GMTT working on native.
No, ma'am, no any question.
All right. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Do we have any other questions? Otherwise, we'd probably round this up. I do have one thought to leave you all with. Sorry, is someone trying to ask a question?
I want to ask a question regarding the lantanas. In my place, there is a huge amount of growth of lantanas in the past 2-3 years, and I want to remove it, but then it's becoming very tough to uproot the whole plant and remove it. Is there any way that I can control it or do something about it?
That is very it is something also I was struggling. But what organization, they have of this particular plant. They have made the furniture. Okay, like you have cane. So they have made the economic use. So they are removing that, and they are trying to make the furnitures and hangings, everything with the lantana. Very, very stubborn plant it is. So it is only the physical removal is only the answer for it, or putting the fire.
Thank you.
But you should visit if you are interested. You have a huge plant and lot of and you have a lot of lantana. I think there's a lot of possibility of commerce for you awaiting, because good opportunities there.
Okay.
Hello. Namaste, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, yes, please go on, ma'am.
Yes, we can hear you.
Ma'am, can we use Glyricia sapium commercially? Is there any commercial use of because it is sporting very big danger for our biodiversity. It is proving very invasive. Gliricidia.
Gliricidia. Oh, okay. Yes, it is. But then, as I
Doctor,
said,
if you could just use the regular vernacular word for this plant that we're discussing.
Undirmari. It is known as Undirmari in Marathi.
Okay.
That is rat killer tree, mice killer
okay,
tree.
okay. Rat killer.
as I said, it is exotic fellows and
Yes.
trees are very, very difficult. And the best is not to grow them. Okay, once we grow, we have ethical issues of also uprooting them. And we need to be very, very careful. So once you have them, they are going to, because the seed dispersal, the way they grow, they multiply much better than our other plants. We need to be careful. And there's another question on Pterospora cordifolia. Now it is time to save endangered vegetable. Yes. Yeah, I really appreciate that from Umesh, talking about Pterospora cordifolia. The kashayam is given today to people. So that's how it is.
Dr. Glaricedia is good biomass, has been messaged by Manish.
Yes, a lot of plants do provide you good biomass.
Okay. All right. I think we are almost out of time. Maybe we could take in one more question before we round up.
Vishnu this side.
Vishnu, go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah. So 2 questions. One, could you please help us to share Smita contact details? We actually to see about medicinal plants that she has grown in important.
Vishnu, I think you're asking about the contact details. You're not very clear, but we'll find a streamlined way of sharing Dr. Noorie's details with you all, and even the books and the resources she's mentioned. We'll put them down in one place and share it with all of you. Are you on any of our? I hope you're following us on social media or on our groups.
Yes. One other question. So just wanted to see, all these medicinal plants these days, I see a lot more importance in the game, probably because of various reasons. Even government is also trying to promote medicinal plants, right? So is there any plants that it demands for farmers to look at?
This is a very question. The government has come up with a list of changes also. The government of India has put huge amounts in the only cultivation. So what is there is a national That scheme which is there on, and there are list of species which are there. And these species, if you are growing, you do get a subsidy from Government of India. So yes, there is a requirement of the species, and because this species list is made based on the requirement from the industry and from the health perspective.
Dr. Noorie, thank you so much for spending your evening with us. We look forward to working with you in Team B Forest and all of our collectives, and for many years to come.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.